WordNerds! Happy Thursday!
My belly's gone!
I'm not pre-filming anymore. I'm back. I survived childbirth. I did pre-film my Wednesday video just now, so I talk about the birth in next week's video, but I survived, and that's the most important part. Today I wanted to talk about the dreaded synopsis. It pretty much doesn't matter what tricks you do, writing a synopsis sucks. It's hard to get your book down into 1 or 2 pages. It's hard enough to get it down into 3 or 4 because it's a lot. You wrote 70 to 150,000 words and now you have to make it sound interesting without any narrative prose. However, over the years, there are a few things that I have started doing that make it a little more bearable for me. And so maybe these things will be helpful to you. Hopefully they are. Let's go. The first thing that I like to do when possible is start early. There is nothing worse than trying to write a synopsis on a deadline because it just feels like you are banging your head against a keyboard for hours. So instead of waiting until you're querying or about to go on sub with a book, I would recommend getting your synopsis started as you're writing the book. For me, I don't try and make it a pretty synopsis at this point. I'm basically writing down for every chapter that I write, I do 1 or 2 sentences about what happens in that chapter. Then at the same time that I am finishing up this draft and feeling pretty good about myself, I can go through and copy and paste all those 1 or 2 sentences into a document. And while it's not pretty by any stretch of the imagination, it is my plot. And for me, that's the most difficult part about the synopsis, is just going through and getting the entire plot down. From there, I like to go through and just smooth things out really quickly. In this read through, I mostly just look for things that are super obvious that can be fixed. Things that are repetitive, threads that just keep going on, so I don't need to keep saying that it's going on. I could just leave it in that one top sentence. And once I finish that step, I've usually got a 3-page synopsis, which is a little long still, but it's better than the 5 pages that I probably started with. However, at this point it does still kind of read like this happens and then this happens and then this happens and then this happens. And so at this point I like to go through and start to make it look a little prettier. And while you can never really make a synopsis as intriguing as your pages, you can kind of pull a leaf out of your query letter writing skills to get some hooks in at the beginning and stuff. And so that's what I'm doing in this next step, is really trying to make it stand out as much as I can. So I look at that first paragraph where I'm introducing the characters, and I usually just replace it with whatever my opener is for my query letter or the blurb of the book, because that's your hook. That's the exciting thing. It usually tells a lot about your character and their desires and their fears just right off the bat, which is the most important part of your story anyway. I wish I'd been keeping track of the steps. I don't know how many steps I've gone through. But the next thing that I do is I go through and I focus on really tightening everything. What plot lines absolutely need to be mentioned and which ones are not big enough to warrant being mentioned in the synopsis. Because if you're trying to write a 1-page synopsis, you don't necessarily need to describe every little thing that happens in your book. You can leave hints that these subplots are happening for sure, but you don't need to mention every chapter that something happens regarding this romantic subplot. You could just say, romantic tension builds between character A and character B as they work together towards this goal. If you've got multiple POVs, which just about every book I write does, the word meanwhile is gonna be your friend. I don't need to have every other sentence character A does this, then character B does this, then character A does this, then character B does this. I can summarize big chunks of chapters by saying character A is working on this and this and this. Meanwhile, character B does this and this and this. Since this is basically the last major stage in my process for writing a synopsis, I'm also really looking for, are tensions mounting? Is it obvious that my characters are developing? Finally, I close out the synopsis with, the big ending, because in a synopsis you spoil everything. And I like to make sure there's some symmetry with the opening paragraph. So be really clear. Did your character meet their goal, or did they fail hardcore? What things did they have to sacrifice to get there? Basically, your ending should be as punchy as your beginning, so that once you do send the synopsis out, the person reads it and they think, I need to see that happen. I need to read that in real time because it seems like such an epic thing. And yeah, synopses are hard. Even talking about how to write them is hard. But those are the steps that I follow to write a synopsis. Of course, at the very, very end, final step, I go through and do hardcore line edits and just really make sure everything is super clean. But yeah, that is how I write a synopsis. Hopefully it is not too rambly and can also help you. You can do it. Best of luck. I'm rooting for you. Don't forget to tune in this Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time for our usual WordNerds live chat. I cannot wait to see you all then, and until then, stay nerdy.